All right, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jack Schneider and I'm with the marketing team at Scrum Alliance. I'd like to welcome you to this innovative approach to our webinars. This is the Collaboration at Scale webinar series designed for Scrum-centric organizations with more than 10 Scrum teams. This series provides focused, outcome-driven solutions to collaboration problems faced by CSPOs, Scrum Masters, and Scrum teams. This is a very interactive webinar that requires your participation as the audience, so be sure to listen closely to our presenters about how to participate. At the end of the webinar, we'll present you with a poll question to help us decide the topic of our next webinar. Before we get started, I want to cover a few administrative items. This webinar is voice over IP, and if you are experiencing technical difficulties, please try logging out, refreshing, and joining again. We will be live tweeting today with the hashtag SAMW17 for Scrum Alliance Webinar 2017. You can also follow us along on Twitter at Scrum Alliance and @Continuo Inc. to get details on how to participate in picking our upcoming webinars. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to you along with the presentation slides. We will email you the links to these items once they have been added to the website. These are typically available within 1 to 2 business days, and this webinar is also available for one Category B SEU. For the email, please use luke.hellman@continuo.co to acquire the SEU. All participants will remain muted during the webinar, and you can ask questions in the chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. Once the presenters have finished their presentation, they will begin answering questions. If we do run out of time, we will answer the remaining questions within a Q&A document after the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to introduce Carlton Nelson. Carlton is an international speaker based in San Diego County. He is a thought leader on Scrum and Agile software development and the author of 14 Observations of Good Scrum Practice. He provides advice, consulting, mentoring, and training to teams and organizations from small startups to businesses that develop products regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. As president of Looking Forward Consulting, that's lookforwardconsulting.com, Carlton has over 10 years of experience working side by side with clients to improve quality, increase productivity, build great teams, and apply lean thinking to software programs. He is a certified Scrum trainer, bilingual in English and Spanish, and a part-time Lisbon resident. And next, Luke Hohman is the founder and CEO of Continuo Inc., known globally as the Prioritization Company. Continuo's platforms help you identify, shape, and align on your priorities and your customers' priorities, increasing engagement and improving effectiveness. Luke is also co-founder of the Every Voice Engaged Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit that helps citizens and governments tackle technical and wicked social problems. So thank you so much for joining us today, Carlton and Luke. Go ahead and take it away.
Jack, thanks a lot. You know, we've been doing the Scrum Alliance Collaboration at Scale webinar for almost 18 months now, and we've covered a lot of challenges. And what I find interesting, Jack, and for the community is that one of the challenges that we've covered in a couple of different ways was prioritization. We've done prioritization strategically at the roadmap level. We've done dependencies, which is actually kind of influencing prioritization. If the attendees go to the Scrum Alliance webinar replay website, they can see some of these prior webinars, but we never actually tackled the more tactical nature of prioritizing a backlog. So I'm actually kind of excited about today's Collaboration at Scale webinar because it is focused on arguably the part of Scrum that is very close to the dev team and very close to the work. It's very immediate, it's very near term, and it's very important. And I'm absolutely thrilled that Carlton is joining us. I've had the good opportunity to work with Carlton on a couple of different projects and engagements, and he is a certified Scrum trainer. And so he deals with helping organizations both in the training and the certification process, but also through the coaching and implementation of Scrum, grapple with these issues. So I'm really excited about today's webinar. Of course, we're going to kick off January with managing technical architectures. Go ahead, Carlton.
No, yeah, Luke, thanks. Thank you for inviting me. I didn't realize you guys have been doing this for 18 months. But that, you know, when Luke, you described the different topics, I thought this one would be really interesting. And like you said, in the Scrum training classes, especially in the product owner class and the Scrum Master class, we talk a lot about prioritization of the backlog. And I would agree also in the coaching type work, in the consulting work, we talk very tactically about, hey, how do we prioritize this? I also think, though, some of the tools that we have from your work with the online collaboration has really helped up my game on prioritization as well, using the different techniques through the Weave platform.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. And as we like to do, we like to start with a poll question. So let's look at how people are prioritizing their backlogs right now. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term HIPPO, it stands for the highest paid person's opinion. A HIPPO prioritization process simply means the CEO or the boss or the general manager or even sales teams prioritize or the salesperson's request. So let's look and see how people really think they're prioritizing the backlog.
Yeah, Luke, I heard HIPPO once years ago in a class, and I had to ask what it was. I was just like, what's that mean? And they're like, yeah, when your boss says this is what we're going to do. I just thought it was kind of a funny term. But as I work with more organizations and I go to teach more classes, I hear a lot about HIPPO.
ROI. Yeah, it's cool funny.
Too, but,
although there is a balance on HIPPO. Like I actually have an override in our own backlog at Contenio because we need a tiebreaker sometimes. So sometimes a HIPPO is the tiebreaker, but you kind of want to use that sparingly. Now, what's exciting about these poll questions is that we never kind of know how the audience is going to reply. We've got 546 people in the webinar. Let's see if we can get this poll question up to about 450. So if you're on the webinar, please join in and let's see kind of where we end up. Luke asks for HIPPO again. HIPPO is highest paid person's opinion.
Highest paid person's opinion. Basically, who's got the biggest title. How it was explained to me. Hey, Luke, let's talk about ROI, because ROI used to be like really, really important in Scrum. And then, what's your experience with ROI? We don't spend as much time at ROI in Scrum. Like, what's your opinion on ROI, return on investment?
Carlton, I'm going to make you wait 2 slides because I have a slide with you that I want to talk a little bit about ROI. Again, by the way, you're right. There was this big movement towards ROI. Okay, the responses are slowing down. We're at 430. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the results. And whoa, look at that. Business value is vastly dominant. And Jack, you've been with me all these 18 months. You've seen us have poll questions. This is the first time, I think, in the entire time we've done this where one answer was so completely dominant.
Absolutely, 60% about for business value.
Yeah. By the way, I would say, Carlton, that means you and the other certified Scrum trainers are doing your job. Because if the vast majority of people are prioritizing on business value, that's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it sounds like we're getting through. I like business value as a term because it's kind of flexible, but it does mean different things to different people. It makes it a little nebulous at times, but I think it's a good place to start your conversations, especially in organizations.
Well, I would say, put it another way, if business value may be the generic term, but if we're starting on that, that's fabulous. Let's go ahead and let's talk about our agenda. We should talk about why we prioritize in the first place. What is it about Scrum that's unique? And then let's talk about attributes and weights, and then prioritizing for profit, which is where we can start to distinguish with ROI, and then and then for the community that is involved. When Carlton and I were putting together this deck, we spent a bunch of time distinguishing between what the business team thinks are priorities versus what the development team thinks are priorities and how those interact. So I think that that's pretty important. Let's get going.
Okay.
You know, Carlton, why should we prioritize?
Well, I mean, with my work, I mean, you oftentimes you have challenges of not always getting what you want, right? People, you know, have a lot of needs. They have a lot of goals and objectives, and there's not enough time to do them all. There's not enough resources, either people, time, or money, and prioritization is very helpful to help you focus on what provides, as we said, most people saw, the most business value, right? I also think prioritization also helps give the team a direction.
So prioritization in your mind is how you balance this, or tell me a little bit more about when you're talking about the business direction or business interaction.
Yeah. So to me, I think prioritization is an outcome of a dialogue. So what you're really trying to do when you have these conversations about, well, what is business value, what provides us the most business value, or the most business value now, it really is that discussion and that conversation between the different stakeholders of the product or service that you're trying to develop, a discussion between the stakeholders and the product developers or the product designers, and a stakeholder between the business and the technical folks about, okay, what are we trying to achieve and trying to reach some type of agreement. And so to me, I think, the prioritization, when you come up with a prioritized list or an ordered list, what you're trying to come up, that's the outcome of this discussion and this dialogue that you have where you create this shared goal or idea of what you're trying to achieve. That's
awesome.
That's how
now,
I often explain
when you
it.
think of
it's outcome, yeah.
And that makes sense to me, right? That kind of makes sense to me. Now, when we think about prioritization, I contend that there's multiple levels of prioritization, or there's multiple. It's almost like prioritization is happening throughout the company continuously because we prioritize markets, we prioritize portfolios of products. We prioritize something for a product and a vision and a roadmap, and we've covered road mapping in a prior Collaboration at Scale webinar. And today we're talking about prioritizing the backlog, which of course influences the release plan. So the questions there, really focusing on this,